Get that man off my porch right now. That's what the lady in pearls screamed as I knelt by a little boy's wheelchair, my palms hovering an inch from his fingers, counting a simple clap pattern under my breath like a lifeline. The kid's name was Theo, 7 years old, with eyes too old for his face. And when he caught the beat and tapped it back at me, a smile cracked open like sunlight, where it hadn't been in months. Security started jogging over, the woman's voice got sharper, and I stood slow with my hands up. But in my head, the rhythm kept going. Clap, clap, pause, clap. And Theo whispered, "Please don't go," and I told him, "Keep the pattern, champ. I'll hear it from the truck." My name's Marcus Reed, Harbor Point. Knows me as the sanitation guy hanging off the back at 5 a.m. Beanie gloves a wave for the joggers. And yeah, that's real. But before my life took a left turn, I was a physical therapist who stayed late charting progress and pretending coffee counted as dinner. And I don't tell people that part because it sounds like bragging until it doesn't. That house on Seacliff Ridge belonged to the Harringtons' money old enough to have its own museum tour, and the woman in pearls was Eleanor, the grandmother, who runs her world like a board meeting where compassion is off the agenda. In the upstairs window, I caught sight of a man watching. Expensive shirt hands on the glass like he wanted to push through it. That was Chase Theo's dad. Good heart, weak spine, you know what I mean. By Monday, my supervisor slid a transfer across his desk, said I didn't do anything wrong, but Mrs. Harrington lit up City Hall, and we had an opening on the industrial route. Less sensitive is how he put it, and I nodded. Because I grew up understanding. You don't always get to choose the hill you die on. But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about a boy who found a beat with his hands and wanted to keep it. I looked the family up, not out of gossip, out of the need to make sense of what my chest already knew. And there it was, the crash 2 years earlier on the coast road. Theo surviving with a spinal cord injury. His mother gone, the photos before that. All motion and grass stains, the photos after that. All perfect framing and silence with Eleanor in every shot, like a shadow you can't crop out. I found the Horizon Hope Fund, 2 glossy websites, soft piano, in the video words, about helping families buy rehab equipment, then filings with numbers that didn't line up, vendors that looked like fog invoices, that smelled like air freshener sprayed on mold. And I saved PDFs and told myself I was just curious, then told myself I was a liar. 2 days later, I got a call while chewing a breakfast sandwich in the yard. A doctor named Naomi Park asking if I'd consult on a kid refusing traditional therapy. Said a colleague remembered me from before everything went sideways, and I said yes before my doubts could talk me out of it. I walked into the therapy room at Crestview and heard a small voice say, "Arcus," before I saw him, and there was Theo, blanket-tucked grin stuck halfway, like it forgot it had permission to be full, and Doctor. Park blinked between us. "You two know each other," and I said, "We've traded beats," and she smiled. Then got serious again about no progress, no motivation, a family with strong opinions about optics, and that word told me everything. We started with breath in for 4, out for 6, letting his ribs remember they weren't just there to hold things together. Then we traced tiny circles with his shoulders, then back to the clap pattern and a clean soul track with a patient bass line. And I asked if he used to dance with his mom, and he nodded and said she told me I moved like a hummingbird that forgot it had wings, and I swear the room shifted like it heard a truth and made space for it. Over the next sessions, we built wins the size of pennies that felt like gold. Scarf drills for range weight shifts with pillows at his hips, upper body work with a band. We named the slingshot because brave things deserve brave names. And every time he did something hard, I had him name how it felt. Then we clapped it into a beat, so courage moved from abstract to muscle memory, and his jokes came back the goofy kid kind that stick to your sleeve, And he asked if heroes were allowed to be scared, and I said only the real ones. He told me the house rules: no photos of mom, no talk of her, no dance classes, because people are cruel outings, rare for optics, protection dressed like a cage. And I felt that old anger in my gut, not the kind that burns everything, the kind that forges a tool. Dr. Park pulled me aside and said, "His progress is real and faster than anyone expected. Also, I have to say I'm worried about emotional neglect." And I nodded because names matter. And at night I opened that Horizon folder again, and the math still didn't sing. So I called public clinics to ask if the equipment ever came. And they said, "What equipment?" And I built a neat little packet with dates and amounts and addresses that were beach houses, and I sent it anonymously to people whose job titles end in bureau. The storm hit on a Thursday, Eleanor walking into the rehab, like the building paid her rent. Silk coat, whispering not one hello to her grandson, just you to me. Like the word was a bruise accusing me of misrepresenting myself, and Dr. Park stood straighter and said, "Mr. Reed consults under my supervision, and his background is legitimate." And Theo on the mat with pillows grabbed my wrist and begged, "Don't let her take my music." And the air in the room went still like it was choosing a side. I asked Dr. Park to call Mr. Harrington, because as a legal guardian, he needed to be present for major decisions, and Eleanor laughed without smiling and said, "My son defers to me," and I thought, yeah, that's the problem we're fixing. Chase walked in 10 minutes later, tie crooked like he ran a red, looked at his mother, then me, then his son, and Theo said, "Dad, Marcus is teaching me how to move again." And the word again landed like a bell only parents can hear. I told the truth, quiet, not to humiliate. Just to stop the bleeding, said, "I believe the Horizon Hope Fund was under federal review," slid the stack to Chase, pointed at vendors with P.O. boxes, storage rentals for warehouses that don't exist. Invoices tripled for chairs that never shipped. And Eleanor tried to spin it as streamlining and partnerships. But spin dies in a room where a child is asking to keep his song. Dr. Park added the part the law requires, that limiting a child's access to a beloved parent's memory and a core source of joy may constitute emotional harm. And Chase finally asked the question his eyes had been asking since the first day at the window, "Mom, is any of this true?" And the innocence of Theo's follow-up cut through the last piece of armor. "Grandma, did you tell people you were helping kids like me when you weren't?" Chase took a breath with his whole body, told Dr. Park to continue. Care asked me to stay on if I would, then said he was freezing the fund's accounts pending an independent audit. And Eleanor tried one more time to bury me under class. Called me a trash man like it was a slur, and I told her where I'm from. A trash man keeps the city from drowning, and I'm proud of that. And the other part of me, the healer she underestimated, is back, whether she likes it or not. The months after weren't a montage, they were morning grinds and off days and small explosions of joy. Theo learning to spin his chair without taking out the ficus, then taking out the ficus on purpose to make the younger kids laugh, me teaching him that dancing isn't legs, it's permission, Dr. Park pushing for outings. Chase showing up and then showing up again, clapping on the beat like a dad who finally found the door back into his son's world. That happened. We did an adaptive showcase at the community center, and Theo performed a piece he titled Hummingbird, because some memories deserve to live out loud. And afterward, a mom asked if we took payment plans, and I said we were working on something, and that something became Harbor Wings, a pediatric movement clinic on a side street by the marina, where the rent thinks it's doing us a favor first, 12 weeks free. If families need it after that, rates that don't choke funded by restitution, after the audit, and local businesses that prefer receipts to ribbon cuttings, a wall of Polaroids where smiling is optional, but bravery is not. People still argue about Eleanor. Some say she built half this town, so we should be grateful. Some say let the past be the past, and I don't have the energy to referee. I just know lawyers and auditors are doing their slow dance, and there are fewer families choosing between groceries and braces. And Theo comes after school and holds court like he owns the place, and when the music starts, there's no quiet in him, only a boy who remembered that moving is not the same as walking, and freedom has more than one door. Maybe you think I went too far sending that packet. Maybe you think I didn't go far enough and should have burned the whole machine down. Maybe you think a man like me should have stayed in his lane, I don't know. I only know that a porch beat turned into a life, and that sometimes the most radical thing you can do is teach a child to clap on 2 and 4 until the fear gets crowded out. If this hit something true for you, hit like so. The story finds the next person who needs it. Subscribe if you want more real talk from the messy middle, where people choose each other over optics, and tell me in the comments what you think. Who was right? Who was wrong? Where's the line between protection and control? Have you seen power used to bless or to punish, and what small act in your life turned into justice?